Once again, let us address the issue of Fikile Mbalula. Sometimes I ask myself, is Fikile Mbalula hearing himself? Is this guy speaking for himself or is he speaking for the ANC? Truly, this is the worst Secretary General that the ANC has ever had. With an interview with Fikile Maseko, Fikile Mbalula said some things that, it sounds to me like the ANC was forced by external powers to go into a government of national confusion. It was not at their own accord. It was by all means to try and keep out the EFF and the MK party, especially Zuma, out of power. Let's talk about that and much more.
Welcome to King Said So, Africa's one land, one language, one currency, one army on King Said So. Africans can unite. Your Pan-Africanist podcast. Enjoy.
Peace in Pan-Africanism to all my African brothers and sisters from all around the world. Welcome back to King Said So. I'm your host, Kagiso Hlongwane Sinchifa Sono. And we're back at it again with another one, and again and again and again we are addressing Fikile Mbalula. Excuse me. Fikile, I know, guys. There's things that you must say. And when you say them, you must hear yourself and say, but man, call me dirty, man. It looks like Fikile never gets to that point of addressing the question that he's hearing and thinking about what he's going to say and how impactful what he's saying will be to the audience that will be listening. He does not get to that point. And now you find yourself asking the question, really? Did he really say that? When Samkelo asked him about the negotiations, how did you guys find the negotiations? What did you negotiate around? If the way he answered that question,
how were these negotiations, particularly knowing some of the backlash you received, particularly with not understanding the statement of intent? How difficult were these negotiations, not only of the executive, but also of the formation of the portfolio committee chairpersons?
So, negotiations in their very nature are very difficult. We did not have to negotiate our prerogatives. That we stand for Palestine, others stand for what? We stand for land redistribution and all of that, others don't. We did not have to negotiate that. We just have had to look at what binds us together, which means that the GNU in itself is not a melting pot. It doesn't mean when you actually participate within the GNU, you then compromise your independence, your ideological outlook, and what you stand for. So it's a question of what is good for your party in this instance. If you believe that working within the GNU at the executive level, it's your choice, it's your strategic choice, it's your tactical choice that you actually make. And then it is said to be seen going forward, we will hold things together. But we understand that we participate here to serve our people, and the people first is important. And lastly, it was to look into the national interest of the country, that we are South Africans, and we as South Africa believe in a democratic process and multipartyism and constitutional democracy, and therefore we didn't have external people to come here and force us into the table. We did it our own way and our own South African way, and the bloodless election results accepted within record time. Government is up and running.
Now imagine you answer this question of negotiations, and what you say is that we did not have to negotiate about our parameters. We don't where do we draw our lines? We did not have to talk about how do you guys feel about Israel? How do you feel about Palestine? How do you feel about the BRICS? How do you guys feel about the US? You know, the global West, the global East. Nobody spoke about these things. This is what Fikile is saying. We did not have to negotiate about land. Imagine. This is what Fikile is saying. You, as an African child, who's saying, my vote is for the ANC. The ANC did, when it was formulating the government of national confusion, did not speak about land. This is what Fikile is saying. He says we have to look at what binds us together. Imagine the ANC found a common denominator that binds them together with the Freedom Front Plus and the DA. What was that common denominator? That you must now acknowledge Orania. I mean, Orania, as we speak, is in a process of being deregistered from the municipality of Tembelihle. That is their deal, the ANC provincial with what you call Freedom Front Plus, Dr. Peter Groenewald, to say, let's take out Orania from a municipality. Now, every place you know in South Africa, every house you know in South Africa, every farm, every little thing, every piece of land belongs to a municipality, one municipality or another. Now, if you say Orania is no longer part of this municipality, you are actually saying Orania is a country now on its own, because it does not fall under any municipality. How is it going to participate in anything that are happening in South Africa? When National Treasury allocates a budget for that specific municipality, do they exclude those area Orania? Do they give Orania its own budget? What is the deal with Orania? This is the problem that we have. He says we must look at the interest of the nation. The interest of the nation, really, Fikile? Your interest was working with Freedom Front Plus and the DA? And it's also solar. 300 million has been missing from Department of Public Works. You will answer. And again, there's another question they asked Fikile. Do you think there was external intervention or external pressures from capitalists, the white monopoly capitalists? How do you feel about them? Just listen to how Fikile answers this question.
There ever a point in time you as the ANC felt as if there was too much interference by those who are perceived as the owners of the means of production? I'm speaking about those who effectively control the South African economy.
There's been an over-exaggeration about capital and those who control the means of production. It has been a political and ideological abuse, in a sense. Because we in the ANC, we understand our engagement with capital is unity and struggle of the opposite. There are things we agree with capital on. We want to create jobs. It is not the public sector's primary role to create jobs. You've got to do that working with the private sector. We've got to have social compacts with the private sector. So we need capital for the development of our nation and the creation of jobs. There are things that we don't agree with them about in relation to things that impact on our sovereignty and all of that. We don't agree on things that affect maybe labor and the worker rights and all of that. So ours is unity and struggle of the opposite. So the over-ideological perspective that changes us into a communist party or a socialist party is incorrect when it comes to the ANC. It's correct for those who believe that they are anti-capital and they believe in the destruction of capital for the creation of a socialist republic. We've got them right in the ANC alliance broader, which is the Communist Party. So when the Communist Party expresses its own perspective and ideological view in relation to what must happen to capital, it doesn't shock us. We've got shock absorbers over time in relation to those matters. And then for all other political parties, we believe that let us not just confine ourselves into ideological hollow ideological perspectives that are not sustainable, whereas the people have spoken, and they've spoken in the manner in which they have, and they did not give us outright majority, all of us. So we needed to come to the table and talk about what needs to happen for this great nation of ours.
Samkelo asks a relevant question. Abo Samkelo is people, Mr. Maseko, who must interview these politicians, because there is other guys who are interviewing, and you're like, Utindo Kokolo, Utindo Putilo. Listen to what Fikile says. Fikile says, no, we over-exaggerate the impact of capitalists on the pressure of the negotiations and how things go. We saw the headlines. We saw the stock. We saw the currency. We saw everything. These people pressuring the ANC into a certain direction. You speak to the EFF, you mention the MK, the rand is weaker. You are speaking nicely to the DA, the rand is stronger. What type of, is this a rand? He says, no, you guys are, that is that ideology, it's an abuse of that ideology of thinking that they're capitalists, they run the economy and they are controlling what we are doing. That's what Fikile says. Serious. And on top of that, why did you need to attack the Communist Party? What was the need? The Communist Party has been so loyal through this abusive relationship that they allow themselves to be in with the ANC. Why do you need to say, no, even though our alliance partners believe that, we don't believe that, when the Communist Party raises something, we've got shock absorbers. Yeah? We are not shocked when the Communist Party says something along those lines, because we've got observers. We know how to deal with the Communist Party. That's basically what he's saying. The Communist Party will be listening to this interview and say, listen to how this guy talks about us. And the Communist Party, I know now they are working on participating in the local elections as a standalone party. I hope that they are really going to do it this time around. I hope so, because they've been threatening this move for a long time now. Now, when it comes to the issue of why is it that the ANC chose not to work with the MK and the EFF, knowing very well they will have the 2/3 majority, why is it that they are working with the DA? Again, the answers.
Why choose to work with the Democratic Alliance as opposed to a party that you are of the same ideological inclination, which is the former youth league leaders and now leading the economic freedom fighters? Why not work with the EFF but choose to form a broader government of national unity when you and the EFF and the MK party combined have over 66% that is needed to amend the constitution, for instance, to change section 25 of the constitution, which is a resolution of your own conference?
If the EFF still want to work with the ANC in relation to certain issues in terms of the National Assembly, we are ready to amend and to engage on. Let's not confine ourselves to a corner in which we simply define one model. We have looked at 5 models as the ANC before we arrived at this decision. First was a grand coalition, one party with many parties you work with. And then the second was a minority government with elements of supply and confidence. You create minority government, you agree with other parties to work in the legislatures in terms of them holding sway and accountability to the governing minority government in the legislatures. That is the second. And then the third is GNU, which is a government of national unity. You bring all parties and then you form government. And then you define that formation of government through a statement of intent. And the other one is to rerun the election. After 14 days, you don't agree, you go back. And the last one is to be backbenching. We would have been the biggest opposition party in the world if we chose to go back to the benches, because 6 million people said, we don't want you in the backbenches, we want you to govern. And then if you can't find each other in terms of governing, you've got an option to rerun. Unfortunately, we found each other. Now, it would have been an easy thing that you can work with all these parties that you talk about. We came with these models, and then we eliminated and came with the GNU. Those parties then said they don't want to participate in the GNU, and then that is it. So we have to move on because that is our position. So it's not a question of one party, absorbing another and all of that. It's a question of coming together of political parties to form government and run government.
This question will haunt the ANC forever. When they look back, because the activities and the firing back from the DA, the Freedom Front Plus, Rise Mzansi, BOSA, IFP, all of them, they are coming for the ANC. The question we will always ask the ANC, why is it ungasebenzanga nabantwana begini? You can't make an excuse that no, the ANC, the MK and the EFF did not want to work with white monopoly capitalists. The question is not why did they not want to work with the DA. The question is why do you want to work with the DA? That's the question. What is forcing you to work with Chris and his killers? What is forcing you? I think I saw an article somewhere, someone saying the appointment of Peter Groenewald as a minister is the biggest spit and a disgrace to the freedom fighters that fought for this artificial democracy that we have from the ANC. They really did a number on us. We have to accept Groenewald as our minister. The guy who said they will never give back the land. The guy who says, apartheid was good. That's the guy they made a minister. Yeah, ANC. And to see that there's still division within the ANC, you hear when he's asked about John Hlophe, how emotional he gets. He starts trying to, because the ANC voted for John Hlophe to go to the JSC. He's there. But now Fikile Mbalula looks like did not agree with that JSC. Did I say JSC? Did not agree with that decision to allow John Hlophe to go there. Just look at how emotional that white monopoly capital is speaking through him, how emotional he gets when it comes to this matter.
Gamatla said John Hlophe. You voted in the ANC in support for him to be part of the Judicial Services Commission, yet you're the very same party in the last parliament that voted for his impeachment. Double standards?
I wouldn't say that those are double standards with regard to Judge Hlophe. The ANC holds no brief for Hlophe, Dr. Hlophe, first and foremost, and or any member of any other party. And the discontent about John Hlophe's nomination is valid. And the ANC position on the JSC discussion in the House was not to say there is no basis. There is no basis for concern. If we were to vote, we will vote for him to go out. But there was no vote and there was no division. What our chief whip said in word was to say that the rules in terms of eligibility of a member to stand are moot when it comes to an individual who's impeached. And that is why we talk about Section 47. That must then be looked at in terms of addressing that question, because where the rules are now are simply addressing the insolvency of an individual. But it doesn't say that if you are somewhere, you have exercised this particular part, you have played this part, and therefore you cannot be part on this other side. So it is on the shoulders of the parliamentarians themselves and the GNU partners to rectify this thing, and not to stand out and not do something about it. it will be an indictment if this were to be allowed. A man or a woman who was a judge and impeached and found to be on the wrong, he must now sit in a panel and judge others and question them. It is morally bankrupt and incorrect. Must be corrected by the same parliament. So our chief whip, in word, like I said, raised the issue that when it comes to impeachment, it is moot. He did not say that we agree that Hlophe must be in the bench. That will be incorrect because we discussed that with them in Parliament. I had a discussion with them, and then I said that for us it's very clear that we were part of the parties that impeached Hlophe. We can never then be the first ones who agree that it is right for him to serve.
So then what do you then do now?
Because Hlophe will not be in Parliament as an MP if we did not impeach him. He will simply be there in the bench, and that is why when he speaks himself, he says, I no longer want that title. I'm a doctor, I'm qualified. Whatever doctor he is, he's a doctor, and that is it, he's an MP. But we've got to deal with this lacuna in relation to our statutes in Parliament, where in which we have now been visited by the Hlophe phenomenon right inside Parliament. We need to deal with that.
What steps are you going to do to deal with
Section 47, members of Parliament, including our caucus, must then consider this matter and put it on the table and then address it.
When are you going to put it on the table?
It's a question of parties engaging among themselves and talking about it and attending to it.
You see, that emotion is because Fikile Mbalula does not have full control of what is going on there as the SG. Looks like this chief whip of the ANC is doing a good job. Untuli is doing a good job. Is it Mandla Untuli? He's doing a good job. Because if there is no law that says an impeached person can't do this, then you can't then come and say morally, ethically, no. Morally, ethically is ingena. Are we not dealing with the law? So now it looks like the ANC will try to out John Hlophe. They're going to try to change the law just for John Hlophe. And remember, when they go for John Hlophe, they're going to go for Busisiwe Mkhwebane also. Because the law it's not favoring them now. The most experienced law practitioner in South Africa is there in Parliament. Why do you have a problem with that? You know, in our Fikile Mbalula, how many he got money from the Guptas and went overseas. He's the person that can tell us about ethics. He's the right person that can tell us. About Zweli Vivi telling us it's morally not correct to have an impeached judge to come and rule over other judges. Yeah, and I was having sex in the office. Where was the moral correctness there? He's still leading another trade union. But it's okay when they pointing out other people. But when it comes to them, then it doesn't apply. The foolishness of this Secretary General that we have. I'm telling you, well, and actually this is the first time I'm telling you, the fight that Fikile Mbalula is going to have, because I believe that Cyril Ramaphosa is going to back him as a presidential candidate when he goes, because they continuously need to protect Cyril Ramaphosa if this Pala thing does not come through. I think they're going to back him, and Fikile Mbalula will be the president of the ANC, and obviously won't be the president of the country, but he will be the final nail on the coffin that kills the ANC beyond 30%. He will be like ANC and mark my words and mark this video. The ANC and the DA will be parties that are different from the difference between them will be 4 to 5%. in 2029 election, should they continue like this. And I don't have a reason to say they won't continue the way they are continuing. But anyway, thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to go and support our sister channel, African Mujolo, with your boy King. More content is coming. More content is coming. I just have to get this nonsense out of the way, but more content is coming there. Guys, more content. Just go there and watch what is going on that side. Subscribe. Let's get that channel to 1,000 subscribers before the end of this month. Please, 1,000 subscribers. I need your support on that channel. Thank you so much for everyone. And the committee of PASETA, the Pan-African School of Economics, Technology, Agriculture and Technology is in the build up. Very soon you'll be hearing me announcing a committee that will be working with me for the next 3 months or maybe even beyond, because I'd like to see these people and see who has got the right heart and the right energy in terms of taking the dream further of building our school. So thank you so much, guys, for everyone who sent their email to PASETA Africanist School at gmail.com. Thank you to everyone who's supporting that movement. Until we meet next time, don't forget to pray. After you pray, stand up, African child. Do your best so that God can do the rest. Peace in Pan-Africanism. I salute you.